everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're doing the May bullet journal spreads. So the theme this month is gardening, and I've been slowly going through and drawing this out over the span of a few days. So now let's get into the line art. So first things first, I'm going to start with a number 5 micron, and I'm going to do these little garden signs that I have along the top here. I chose gardening for the fact that it's like springtime, and that was really it. I personally don't actually garden anything. I can't keep plants alive to save my life. So this is more so just a reference to art that other people have made, as well as what I do know about gardening. My mom has a huge garden in the backyard and a greenhouse that my dad built for her. So she does a ton of gardening. This could be like a little ode to my mom, you know? I also just had a few really cool ideas that I wanted to bring to life. So that was also why I chose gardening, even though it's not something that I personally do as a hobby. I just saw, I think, one thing on Pinterest, and then my brain was like, you know what? We have an idea for that. And then it just kept going like that. So you'll see when we get to the mood tracker, that is really where I want to shine. Although this was my idea as well, obviously. The mood tracker is what I was most proud of. Okay, now that that is done, I'm gonna go ahead and do the lines of the calendar as well in the 5, but I'll do the outline of the whole flower box or planter box in the 8 micron. Plants I'm going to do in like a 1 or a 3 micron, and then this little May at the bottom I will do in a brush pen, and same with the letters in our little garden signs here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and time lapse through the rest of this because it's pretty straightforward, me just drawing more straight lines. Okay, moving on to the habit and mood tracker. This is where I feel like my brain really outdid itself. So this could work for either a habit or a mood tracker. So for the moods, I have this like lattice garden wall in a little planter box, and then I made them pea plants. You could make them whatever kind of plants you want. And then every time that you have a mood that corresponds with, you know, whatever you've assigned your plant, you add a little pea plant, or, you know, if it's a tomato plant, you add a little tomato there. You could also do this for habits. So you could assign each plant a different habit, and then every single time you do that habit, you add a little fruit to it, which I thought was brilliant. Whether or not it's actually brilliant, up to your own determination. And then for the habit tracker, I have them as little seed packets. So most cartoon seed packets that I see have like a picture of what the seed is supposed to be somewhere on it. So I made them tall enough that you could have 2 of those little squares, so that one of them was a picture of what the seed was going to be, and then one was the calendar. And then you can just like circle it off or X it off, color it in, whatever you want to do when you have completed that habit. You could flip-flop, make this one the mood tracker, this one the habit tracker, like I said. It really is up to you, but I really thought that this was a creative way to make both a mood and a habit tracker. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the outlines. I'm a little conflicted with how to do the line art for this one, so I will time lapse through this, and then maybe I'll bring you back and I'll chat with you guys about how I plan to do this part. Okay, so I've got the frame and the little garden box done for my mood tracker. And I think what I've decided to do is I'm gonna outline the plant first, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add in like the the lattice behind, instead of having like a solid wood pieces that are gonna go across, kind of like I have later in the mood tracker, I think I'm just gonna do like a typical wire one. So I'm just gonna do the line art and I'm not gonna do any coloring in the background. That way it'll be easy to add the little peas or tomatoes or whatever I'm gonna draw on as fruit for completing the mood. So I've done all this in 3, so I'm gonna go ahead and continue with 3 for the plants, and then I'll go in with my 1 micron to do the fence behind it. Okay, after shelving all of our garden equipment over here, our next spread is unshelving said garden equipment. So each one has a little doodle and then the word and number of the week in big font, and then I just have this curved line that connects all 6 of the days together. So let's go ahead and draw that out. This week's spread, we have a little greenhouse over here. That's the doodle. It may look a little bit chaotic right now, but hopefully as I start adding the lines, it will look less chaotic. We're going to imagine that the doors are sliding doors because I don't think the math works out for them to not be sliding doors. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead with black first, and then all of the bars that are like behind the glass will be gray. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm just gonna go ahead and start with the outside frame of the greenhouse first. And I'm gonna try and make these lines like relatively thick, kind of symbolize that there's structure there. The next thing I'm gonna do is the doors, just to make sure that I don't accidentally forget them. Okay, now we'll add the little cross beam, the floor. Okay, so now the rest of everything else should be gray because it's all behind the glass. And then there is like a wooden shelf in there. I did reference this heavily from something that I saw online, so there is that. But I'm gonna go ahead and use, I think a micron 3 to outline this little table in the back. Actually, I feel like maybe I should go in with the gray first. Let me just find a gray marker and I will be right back. I'm gonna go ahead and use dark gray, and that's gonna symbolize all of the behind the glass panes. Or maybe I should do the plants first. Honestly, I don't really know what I should do at this point, but at the very least, I can put in this back bar here. And then I guess I'll just do these cross ones as well, and then just pretend that that's not in the way there. Okay, I think that's the line work for the greenhouse pretty much done. So now I'm gonna go ahead and just outline all of the little plants, and fingers crossed everything turns out the way that it should. I think I ended up forgetting to time lapse me doing the rest of this line art for this spread. So anyways, this is what it looks like. We're gonna move on to the next spread now, which is plants growing up lattices on the sides of each page. So really I'm just gonna wing this. because it's like a lot of detail work, but I don't want to draw the detail, you know? Like I want to keep this kind of simple. So I'm gonna go ahead with the 5 micron for the leaves, and then I'm gonna do a 3 micron for like the wood lattice in the background. And I'm just gonna go ahead and start kind of just drawing some of the leaves as I've sketched out here, because I don't want to accidentally draw the lattice over top of them. And like obviously some of these leaves are going to be behind different parts of the lattice, or I'll add some that are behind the lattice. Anyways, this might end up being a mess, you know, but we're experimenting. And that's the fun part, I guess. A little stressful. But you gotta do what you gotta do, right? I had this idea and I thought it would be really good, and then, you know, I didn't realize how challenging it might be to draw. And unfortunately, I feel like that's how a lot of my ideas turn out. I'm like, wow, you know what? That would be really cool to look at. And then I'm like, you know what? That's actually extremely challenging, and I don't know if I have the skills to pull that off. And then I don't end up doing it. And so a lot of my ideas are just chilling in the back of a, you know, back of a closet, metaphorically, in the back of my brain, because I'm so nervous to try, because I don't want it to fail, even though that's not a reason to not do things. So anyways, let's just keep going through. I'm just gonna make this like, you know, kind of bushy looking. I don't even know what kind of plant this is. I just googled plants that grow up lattices, and this is what it came up with. There are flowers in here, so I will draw those out a little nicer looking, but I just want to get like the base shape of this bushy thing down first before I start drawing in all the flowers. Okay, now I will draw in our flowers here. The ones on my reference picture are yellow, and they have a really cool petal shape, but I'm not about to draw a fancy petal shape on an experimental drawing. I'm just gonna do the little basic 5 petal flowers, little cartoony ones. They did have little black centers though, so I am just gonna follow that. And they're yellow, so I'll keep them the same color. Cute. Okay. I guess now it's time to draw on the lattice. Like I said, I'm gonna use a 3 micron if I can find that. Yes, there it is. And I'm gonna start with the outside border first, just to get our base shape down. Okay, now that our outside frame is done, I'm gonna go ahead and draw in the lattice pieces in the center. So all of them facing this direction will be on top, and then all the ones going the other direction will be underneath, if that makes sense. So really what that's gonna look like is I'm gonna just follow all of the lines that I've drawn here, hopefully like a little bit more carefully than, you know, the sketch that I've sketched out here. And then it'll be like coloring in every other one. So I don't have to decide right this second if I want, you know, this one that I'm drawing here, if I want this specifically to be filled in, or the other one, if that makes any sense. This is probably extremely boring to watch, so I'm just gonna go ahead and time lapse through the rest of me doing this lattice here. So the line art is officially done. I've picked out my garden-esque colors and then a couple extra ones for some details. I've also pulled out my only brown gel pen, which happens to be sparkly, so maybe I'll add a couple details in the soil, and then the silver one, which I'm going to use to add like silver details to like the wires in here and to some of the metallic items, like all the garden tools. So hopefully that ends up working out. I did kind of draw out the colors here to make sure that they looked good together. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to do the outlines, or like, I don't know if I'm going to go back and forth with color or if I'm going to go page by page. We'll see how I feel. But I'm going to start at the front. So I ended up doing the entire page before moving forward, and I'm actually really happy with the way that these colors look. I decided on adding little brown squiggles with my pen, so now there's like a little bit of shift in with the sparkles in there. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it does look, there's just a little extra something there in person. So I think I'm going to add a little bit of silver just to the outsides of these, and then we will move on to the next spreads. So I'm going to do the same colors that I did on the title page in this mood tracker here. So the dirt was this dark brown, and I like the way that it looked being really, really dark brown, and then having like the wood box around it be a lighter, more warm tone brown. I just like it looked like really moist, good soil for growing things in. I may not know how to keep plants alive, but I do understand the basics behind gardening. So my other browns just don't really scream soil to me, but this one definitely does. Could I color this in a way that makes it look more like soil? Probably, but that's not really what I'm most concerned about. I just want to get the area covered, and then I can go back, because these are not alcohol markers. They don't blend really into each other at all, or even into themselves, because they dry really quickly, because they're just, you know, plain old cheap water-based markers. So if I want to, I can go over and add a second layer of marker like this and turn it into kind of lumpy looking dirt. And I think that's better than attempting that from the get-go. And that actually ends up looking like soil way more than I thought it was going to. So now I'm gonna go ahead with my sparkly brown, and I'm just gonna like highlight the tops of some of these shapes here, kind of like where the stem is coming out of the ground. Now that I realize I've actually covered it with brown accidentally though, so. And then we'll just have a little bit of glitter in our lives. It does drag, like my palm is kind of glittery from the other page. And then I'm gonna go ahead and draw in this. I'm not really concerned with coloring in the lines, to be honest with you, because I'm just gonna color over the line for the stem anyways. So it doesn't really make sense to be really focused on coloring in the lines when I'm just gonna go ahead and do that instead. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do this in my other two colors of green here for each plant, and then I'll go ahead and color in our vegetables over here. Editing Kyra here. So I realized now at this point that I somehow managed to not film literally any of the other coloring of these spreads. So I don't know how that happened. I swear I was filming, but I guess not, obviously, because I don't have the footage for it. So I guess that's all you're able to see of me coloring, and I'm so sorry about that. But I guess we can only hope for the best for June, that I don't forget any of that stuff. So Without further ado, here's the final flip through. Right, and that is it. So this is the final flip through of the May bullet journal spreads. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to my channel. I post new videos on any day of the week, really, at this point, about twice per month. So I hope you have a lovely week, and I will see you all in the next video.